Hey, what is going on, my friends, and welcome back to another video on the Ask Me Anything series. Well, as you can tell from the title, today we are talking about High Tide Inc., ticker symbol HITIF. Now, if you guys do want the answers to these questions when I do answer them, if you want access to my trades, my trade alerts, my trade portfolio, if you want access to my weekly watch list along with the daily newsletter that I write every single morning myself, go down to the link in the description. It'll bring you over to my Patreon, and that's where I'm fully transparent with all that info. And also, if you are looking to expand out into a new brokerage or start your own investment journey, I highly recommend using the referral link down in the description below. It'll bring you over to Webull, deposit $100 into your account, and you will get 2 free stocks valued all the way up to $1,850. But with that being said, I'm going to pull it up here. I'm going to hop over to my Instagram, and we are going to jump into today's question that comes from Liam. It comes from Liam, and he says, "What's up, Tyler? My question for you is that I'm invested into HITIF and really think that the company has loads of potential, but their stock is tanking, and I cannot decide if I want to stay in the stock. My question, I guess, is what you personally plan on doing with the stock and if you will be holding. Thanks, Liam." So I think there's a few different ways to answer this question, and I'm going to kind of try to address each and every aspect of it to give you a clear picture of what I'm doing. Now, do understand, I'm not a financial advisor. You shouldn't base your own investment decisions off of what I do, and you should make sure that you understand all risk associated with investing into a security. But with that being said, I'm personally, to give you a very short, brief, and straight to the point answer, I am not selling High Tide at all. I'm actually doing quite the opposite. I've been buying a lot more. So let's go ahead and let's jump into the reasons why. I think first and foremost, it's important. Let's take a look at the technicals. I think it is a good idea to kind of see what the stock price has been doing, as that was a big point in your question there. So as we can see, over the last couple months, it has not been performing the absolute best. I mean, we saw it gaining some momentum. It did seem like it was bouncing off of resistance quite well, and I actually did believe that this was going to be the start of an uptrend, but I was not right. And you know, sometimes you are simply just wrong. I had bought a lot of shares within this consolidation phase here, and at that point, I was buying shares typically off each one of these dips as I expected it to clear this resistance. Well, that just wasn't the case, and as we have seen recently, it has been breaching some of these floors. Now, the thing about it is, where does it continue to fall? I'm not 100% sure. We will get into that in a little bit later as to why I believe it is falling. But as we can see here, personally, when it comes to increasing my position anymore, as I did say I am still buying, I haven't been doing much buying at all until it really finds some level of resistance that is going to be able to maintain without clearing it the next day. So when it comes to buying, I'm just simply waiting for this thing to kind of slow down a little bit, but selling, absolutely not. So now that we've kind of taken a look at the stock price, let's consider a few different things here. Let's consider why this thing is falling. We're going to take a look at some comparable stocks to get an idea of if it is just HITIF falling, and if it is so, why is the case. So I have a few different stocks put up. We're going to take a look at ZENA. Now, this is going to be another cannabis company that is at about that 10-cent mark, so a little bit less than High Tide. And as we can see here, a very similar pattern. Since February 8th, 9th, and 10th, that entire little span of time, we have seen their stock fall about 44%. If we go over to MariMed Inc., from that same little period of time, they're down about 27%. We go to Medical Mary Jane, they are down about 70% since that same amount of time. And Namaste Technologies, if we go over to the same roughly weekend, if we just go over here and we drop down, they're down about 34%. So as we can see here, it's not just High Tide, it is pretty much the overall collective of the cannabis penny stock industry. And honestly, the whole penny stock industry or market itself is falling. Now, the reason I do believe that is because that is just exactly what the penny stock market does. It has very, very volatile swings, and it's very cyclical. I think a lot of us understood that as we were seeing huge gains, as many of these penny stocks were flying through the roof, and we were seeing basically every single penny stock on the market climbing hundreds of percentages over the course of January and February, that we knew. We were like, it's things too good to be true. At some point, it's going to fall. That's why we set our stop losses, and that's why we prepare for the worst. So whenever we see instances like this, we have an investment strategy in place in order to counter some of those losses. Well, the thing about certain stocks is that we are getting to a point within the penny stock market that they're not just moving off of hype as much. Some of these new stocks that are actually coming onto the scene that are maybe like 0.0008 that we'll see maybe in OTC markets share volume section, those stocks are going to be the ones that we might see move off of hype just because people are excited about new things, new toys, new stocks, etc., right? But whenever it comes to some of our bigger penny stocks, the ones that can trade between 20 to 50 cents to maybe up to $1, I think those are going to be stocks that we're going to see stop moving off of hype so much and start to trade off fundamentals, because the OTC market is one that does become very volatile and it moves when people are excited about it. And the issue about that is not many people are too excited about risking all their money at the moment after everything that happened. All these stocks falling 30-40% in the penny stock market after we saw GME and AMC come back down a lot from the highs they were at. We saw all of this happen at one time, and it's kind of shied people away from the more risky stocks. The good thing about that is it's kind of shifted people over into value stocks. It's shifted people into stocks that are going to have good fundamentals. It's going to, start to move based off of quarterly reports. And I think that's important going forward. I think that's a lot more stable. I think it's a lot more maintainable. And I'm very excited for that because I believe high tide has so much potential. I mean, if we just simply consider the fact that high tide is currently sitting at about a $350 million market cap, but is generating close to $40 million every single quarter. I mean, the fact that they had a revenue increase of 179% in the first quarter of 2021 compared to nearly 14 million in the same quarter last year shows that their growth is absolutely ridiculous. But it's not like they're just making more money. Their gross profit itself increased by 208%, with their gross profit margins up to nearly 40% as well. So as we can see here, I truly do believe with every ounce in me that this stock is undervalued. I think if we consider all of the growth of the cannabis industry, if we consider the potential that they have, if we consider the amount of exponential growth we're going to see within their retail stores over the next year, if we also consider the fact that this is going to be a stock that has already gained some notoriety and established themselves as one of the leading brands and the largest, obviously, clearly the largest retail, company in Canada alone when it comes to the cannabis industry. I think if we consider all of that, I truly believe this stock is undervalued. So why personally, if I think it's undervalued, if I think it has all of this going for them, why would I sell off this stock whenever it starts to fall when the rest of the market is falling? Right? We have to consider whenever the pandemic started, we saw so many stocks absolutely tanking. Well, if you held on to some of those stocks that you just knew were great stocks, let's take Coca-Cola, for example. That is a very strong, financially stable company. No, I'm not saying high tide is on the same level as them, but hypothetically, let's do a little comparison. Whenever I was invested in Coca-Cola back in February, and then everything dropped in March 21st, I think we saw like the worst of the worst. And then, I knew right then and there, of course I have emotions. And I'm like, man, I'm going to sell it. Like I lost so much money. I don't want to sell anymore. But in the back of my mind, and, I really knew, okay, this is a great company with a lot of potential. They have the fundamentals to back up the valuation that I put them at. Whenever we consider all of the potential this company has coming out of the pandemic, whenever we think about where this all can go in the future here, it doesn't make sense for me to sell them. It makes more sense for me to buy them because this company has so much potential and I truly have faith in them. So I'm going to increase my position while things are cheap. Right? And so that's the same take I'm taking on high tide. I think that the penny stock market will eventually recover. I think people will get a little bit excited about it again. The YOLOers will start popping up out of nowhere. And the next thing you know, we'll see some of these stocks recline. So with that being said, I'm going to keep my position in a high tide and increase it because as they do continue to grow out their company, a lot of these value investors are going to see the potential in high tide as they do continue to establish these stores, as they do continue to grow their company and their brand out. I think it's only going to do major wonders for the company going forward, and I really couldn't imagine that the stock goes all the way down to zero, right? That's just my personal opinion. I don't see it happening, but I do believe that there still could be some losses to come when it comes to the stock price before we see a turnaround. Yeah, it might hit 44, it might hit 40. We might see this thing pop all the way back down to previous resistance here at right 39, 38. It's all possible, but at the end of the day, why are you investing? If you're investing into a company just for the stock price, you're investing into them for the wrong reason if you're a long-term investor. That's my opinion. The reason I say that is because this stock price is going to move. It's a stock price. It's going to be volatile. But what's not volatile is the fundamentals of the company. And I invest in the companies due to the fundamentals. High Tide's fundamentals are getting better and their stock price is going down with the rest of the market. And that creates an amazing opportunity for me personally to buy more shares. So Liam, I hope I did answer your question without, going too far off or, going on too many tangents. But I do believe it's important to consider all of these different things when you are looking to invest or not invest, to sell or to buy. And I think that at the end of the day, High Tide's a fantastic company. So for me personally speaking, and entertainment purposes only, I'm not selling, I'm actually buying more. So again, one more time, I always got to do it just to make sure that I'm legally protected. Of course, I'm not a financial advisor and this is not financial advice. So if you guys are investing in the penny stock market, if you're investing in any securities in general, please do your research. Make sure that you are doing research that'll back your investments because at the end of the day, yeah, you need to. but it'll also help you emotionally whenever we see things like this. I'm personally not stressed. High tide is falling, and that's cool. The reason I'm not stressed is because I have done my research and I have faith in my due diligence, and I think that will provide wonders to many new investors out there. With that being said, I am going into surgery tomorrow morning, so I may not be on the channel for a few days here, but I hope to see you guys very, very soon. Y'all have a safe weekend. Y'all stay blessed, and we'll see you all very soon. Peace.